I'm going to take you through a short Pilates sequence. Pilates is an excellent supplement for your training, helping to stabilize and mobilize your joints while also lengthening out the muscles to help relieve some of that tension and soreness after your workouts. So you're going to start laying on your back, knees bent up towards the ceiling and feet about hip width apart. Arms are going to be down long beside you so that you're nice and open through the chest and the collarbones. We're going to start just with a pelvic tilt. So all I want you to do is gently squeeze the glutes, rounding the lower back, pushing it in towards the ground, and then gently relax the glutes and allow your lower back to arch. So it's creating that space beneath the lower back. Nothing too forceful here, just rocking from one position to the other. Nice and easy. I like a breath out as I rock into my pelvic tilt, pressing the lower back into the ground, and then a breath in as I rock into the arch position. Nice and easy here. Good. Then when you're ready, you're going to start to peel the spine one vertebra at a time up off the ground into your bridge position. I'm squeezing the glutes and just gently pulling the belly button in towards the spine here, taking a nice big breath in at the top, and then exhale, sink down from the sternum first, rolling all the way through the spine. At the bottom, you can rock into that arch position, take another breath in, and then exhale, peel the spine up. It's really about trying to mobilize each joint of the spine. So take your time with this. If you really struggle with this pelvic tilt position, I encourage you to think about pushing your feet into the ground and squeezing the glutes to help get that lower back to round in the opposite direction to where it usually likes to sit. Exhale, peel up. Inhale, hold at the top, and exhale, melt down. For the next 3 reps, I want you to take the arms up overhead as you peel up. You're going to leave the arms there as you start to melt the spine down. It's going to feel harder to move one vertebra at a time, but you can either choose to leave them there, or if your arms start to lift, just bring them back down to your side and start again for the next rep. Really feels like a nice big yawn. Good, and one more there. Excellent. Now for the next variation, you have the option of either having your arms down by your side, or you can actually reach the arms up towards the ceiling for a little bit of challenge on your balance and core stability. If you are, I want you to think about plugging the shoulder blades down into the ground. Okay, so you've got contact with the ground. You're going to peel up to your bridge position and then shift the weight to one leg as you lift the other leg up into a tabletop position, placing it back down and alternating sides. Remembering that this is going to be much easier with the arms on the ground. Your goal here is to try and keep the pelvis as level and still as possible. If you find you just go into an arch position, I want you to think about squeezing the glutes and just lowering the hips a little bit. Good. We'll go one more each side. And then melting the spine all the way back down. So we're now going to keep the hips on the ground and go into a little bit of lower ab stability work. So just starting by lifting one leg up into a tabletop position and then lifting the other, you should feel those lower abs start to grab. Ideally, we want to be in a neutral position where there's a slight gap underneath the low back. However, if you find that it's really hard to hold this position and you just feel tension in that low back, you can pull those legs in a little bit closer and round the low back. Okay, the most important part is that we're trying to engage the abdominals and not just having it all go through the joints in the low back. So from here, I want you to try and keep that torso as still as you possibly can. As you tap one foot on the ground, you're trying your best to keep that right angle at the knee, not just bending the knee and tapping close to your bum. Okay, that's going to defeat the purpose of doing this exercise. I like an exhale as I lower, inhale, lift up. Good. Really good way to see if you're changing the shape of your spine is actually to have your fingertips on your hip bones and then thumbs on your bottom ribs. If you feel that space start to open up as you tap the foot, we're disengaging through the abdominals. Okay, so pull that belly button into the spine and try and lock into that position. If that feels good, you're going to go into a single leg stretch. So this time you're reaching the leg nice and long. The lower you go, the more you have to think about drawing those abdominals in towards the spine. It's going to get harder. So the important thing is we're not just arching through the low back. Exhale to extend. Inhale, bring the leg in. Good. And let's go one more each side. Excellent. And relaxing down. So we're now going to move towards the upper abdominals. I want you to interlace the fingers behind the head with the thumbs actually running down the neck. So my hands are really at the base of the skull to support the head and neck in this position. It's almost like a hammock for your head. You're going to hug the elbows in so that you can see the elbows out the corner of the eyes, just keeping the hips on the ground for now. On the exhale breath, you're going to curl the head and chest up and then inhale, control down. It's not pulling the head and neck forwards, it's coming from the center. So you think about those top ribs as you lift up, they're pulling down towards your hips. It's almost like you've got a string tied to each side of your ribs that's being pulled down towards the hips for each rep. Exhale, curl up. Inhale, control down. Let's go one more here. And then we're going to start to add in some rotation. So doing the exact same thing, you're curling up through center first, and then you're going to start to rotate through the torso while trying your best to keep the hips as still as possible. So it's like you're drawing a big rainbow with that elbow coming up and over to the opposite hip. Exhale, rotate, inhale, come down. Good. And let's go one more each side. Awesome. So we're going to do a similar variation, in fact, the exact same movement, except this time we're incorporating both upper and lower abdominals by bringing those legs into a tabletop position. Like I mentioned, you can always pull the knees in a little bit closer if you feel you need that lower back rounded. Otherwise, same thing again. You're exhaling as you curl up and then inhaling as you come down. A little bit harder with your legs in tabletop. So your goal is to keep the legs as still as possible now. Good, let's go one more. And then we're going to start to add in that rotation. So again, with the legs in tabletop, it's going to be a lot harder to keep those hips still. You want to make sure you're not moving the legs to try and get more rotation. We want to make sure we're isolating that rotation to the torso, not just twisting through the hips. Exhale, rotate up and over. Inhale, come down. Good, and one more to the other side before relaxing down. You're now going to straighten out the legs in this position and reach the arms up overhead. You're going to take a nice big breath in at the bottom, and then on the exhale, you're lifting the arms up towards the ceiling. Start to peel the head up until you reach all the way up towards your toes. Now this one, the first one, usually needs a little bit of momentum from the arms. The slower you go, the harder it's going to be. So use that exhale breath, use the momentum, and then build it out from there. It can also be helpful to have a plate on your feet if you need to. But at the top, I want you to reach forwards as far as you can to stretch out through the lower back and the hamstrings. And then keep that rounded position as you slowly start to melt the spine back down. It's really important to control this way down as slow as possible. Take a breath in at the bottom and then exhale, curling back up. Reach towards the feet at the top. Maybe you get a little bit further each time. And then melting the spine back down. Good, let's go 2 more. And last one, I want you to hold at the top in this stretch for a moment. And we're going to take 3 deep breaths. On the breath in, you can kind of relax out of the stretch a little bit. And then on the exhale, I want you to see if you can push further into that stretch. One final breath. Good. And then coming all the way back down to the ground. You're then going to rotate onto your side. We're going to do a little bit of glute work, particularly working into our glute med, which is on the side of your hip, and then into our external rotators of the hip. So I personally like to have that bottom arm out straight. It helps me to relax the head and neck more. Otherwise, you're welcome to hug the head if that feels more comfortable. Your feet, they're going to be bent in this position, but your feet will be in line with your glutes. Okay, so not too far forwards and not too far back. If they're too far back, the pressure is going to go in towards your low back. Then hand on hip, you're going to elevate the feet here and then lift the top knee as high as you can without rolling back in the hip. So that's why it's really helpful to have that hand on the hip, just as a bit of a guide to see if you are actually rolling back at all. Good, going for about 10 reps here. Really challenge that height of the knee. Good. Couple more. Excellent. For the next one, you can either keep the bottom leg bent and the top leg straight, or if you want some more challenge on your core stability, you can straighten both legs out. A little bit easier if you have fingertips spotting on the ground, harder with your hand on your hip. You're going to flex the feet in this position, keep the toes facing directly forwards. You're going to lift and lower that top leg, but I don't want you to throw the leg up as high as you can. This space between the top of your pelvis and your ribs should stay the same as you lift. If you lift up and that space shortens, you know that you're lifting too high. Trying your best here not to tense up through the head and neck. Believe it or not, it doesn't have to do any work here, but it tends to want to. Good. Couple more reps. And then I want you to hold the leg at hip height and point the toes in this position. You're going for 5 small dinner plate sized circles in each direction. The hardest part here is trying to keep the torso nice and still. So if it helps to have those fingertips spotting on the ground, that is an option. Once you've done 5 in each direction, let's hug the knees back in, interlace the fingers behind the head and neck. You're going to relax the head and neck as much as possible. On the inhale breath, rolling forwards, trying to aim to touch that elbow towards the ground, and then up and over on the exhale. The goal here is to keep the knees in contact with the ground, and you're trying to rotate as much as you can through that torso. Inhale, come forwards. Exhale, come up and over. Going for 5 reps here. And on the last one, we'll hold that stretch. So holding the stretch with the chest nice and open here. To counteract the stretch and get a little bit more out of it, you're going to keep the knees together but straighten out that top leg. Try and relax it down. Just opening up through the front of the chest and through the torso. Just trying to breathe through this stretch. Good. And then from here, you're going to roll onto your back. The leg that is currently straight or on top, that leg is going to cross over into your figure 4 stretch. Now you have the option of keeping that foot on the ground and just pushing the knee that's crossed over away from you to stretch through the glutes. If that feels like enough, you can stick with that. If you want a little bit more, hold on to this leg that was on the ground and pull it towards you into this position. This is our figure 4 glute stretch. Good. And then you're going to unfold out of that position, swing around to the other side. So getting yourself into position, again, you can either have that arm out straight or hug the head. Heels in line with your sit bones or your glutes here, elevating the feet and hand on hip. Lifting that top knee as high as you can without rolling back in the hips. About 10 reps here. Good. Let's go a couple more. And then we're going to lower the legs. You can have that bottom leg bent for stability if you need to. If you want the challenge, straighten out both legs and flex the feet. Hand on hip for a little extra challenge again. Toes are going to stay facing forwards as you lift and lower that top leg. Remembering that space between the ribs and the hips. We don't want that space to change at all. Lifting and lowering with control. Awesome. And then on the next one, I want you to lower the leg to about hip height, point the toes, going for those dinner plate size circles, 5 in each direction. Trying not to move through the torso, but remembering you also have the option of fingertips on the ground here. And then once you've done 5 in each direction, bend those knees up, interlace the fingers behind the head, going for your lovely side log rolls. So inhale, come forwards, exhale, come up and over. Trying your best to keep those knees planted on the ground rather than just letting them lift, and then we're not actually getting any rotation through the torso. Inhale, come forwards. Exhale, come up and over. Really allowing that head to be heavy in the hands. Good. Let's go one more here, and we'll hold that stretch. You're just going to straighten out the top leg, but keep the knees together and try your best to relax that leg down. Good. Just taking some nice deep breaths here. And then with that leg that is on top, or the leg that's out straight, you're going to roll onto your back and cross that leg over. Remember, option to keep the foot on the ground and just push the knee away from you to enjoy that glute stretch, or you can pull the knee in towards you and elevate that foot off the ground. It's just going to intensify the glute stretch. Again, just breathing through your stretches. I know it may seem hard, but the goal is to try and visualize the muscles relaxing and really breathe through it. The more you try and fight it, the harder the stretch will feel. Good. And then just gently unfold out of the stretch and rolling over onto your stomach. We are almost there. Just got a few exercises to work on our back extension and the whole posterior chain, or the back side of our body. So we're going to start with the arms in a right angle position, so elbows at about armpit height. The forearms are going to stay on the ground, and I'm looking at the ground to begin with. On the inhale breath, I'm just lifting the head and chest up, and then lowering back down on the exhale. Trying my best to extend through the upper back as much as possible. If I had 2 lights on my collarbones, it's like I'm trying to shine those lights forwards. Nice baby swan here. Couple more. Great. Now you have the option to keep the hands here. Think about drawing the shoulders down away from the ears and then pressing the hands into the ground to actually try and straighten the elbows. That's our first variation. Now, if you find that really easy, the closer you walk your hands in towards your chest or your ribs, the more lower back extension you're going to get. Having said that, I only want you to go to the point where you can still keep the shoulders down away from the ears in your top position, and you're not pressing the hips up off the ground. So if that starts to happen, I want you to walk those hands a little bit further away And then on the way down, keeping the shoulders down away from the ears and melting the spine down. So you choose a position with the hands that feels comfortable. Same sort of pattern with the breath in to peel up and then a breath out to lower down, melting the spine all the way back down. Let's go one more. Awesome. And then you're just going to press up into a 4-point kneeling position. Hands beneath shoulders, knees beneath hips here. It's like you've got a rod from the ground to your belly button, which is keeping you in the exact same position. You're going to extend opposite arm and leg away from each other, control down, and then alternate sides. Inhale to lengthen out. Exhale, bring it down. If you imagine you had your favorite meal balancing on your low back, you're trying not to spill that meal. Good. And let's go one more each side. And then just going for some cat-cows. So instead of just pushing up into your cat position and then pushing down into your cow position, I want you to think about this a little bit more, like with our bridging to start with. So I want you to think first about tucking the pelvis under. Then you're going to roll through the spine to the head and neck. Take a big breath in here. And then exhale as you start to move in the other direction, with again the pelvis moving first, rolling all the way through the spine to the head and neck last. Breath in here, and then exhale, move through this position. Good, one more in each direction. Excellent. And then to finish off, just going to tuck the toes under, push the hips up towards the ceiling into your down dog. You can soften the knees here a little bit if you need to. Just hang out there for a moment. You can do a few little calf pumps to really mobilize the ankles. And then slowly walk the hands in towards the feet. But I want you to stay here just for a moment, looking through your legs. So try and relax the head and neck as much as possible. And then if it feels good, you can just slowly drift the torso from side to side. You can even hold on to the opposite elbows if it feels really nice to hang there. Just lengthening out through the spine. And then coming back to center. Nice soft bend in the knees. And then it's like you've got a string tied to your low back, just pulling up towards the ceiling. Slowly restacking the spine to come to standing. So there you have it, a short Pilates sequence. This is a great one for active recovery days, or if you're just feeling a little bit stiff and sore. Give this one a go and let me know how it feels.